afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as we get to have a show together. It's all about you. You can send an email if you have any suggestions for shows. I love doing research for you, so you can send an email to donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. Truth does matter here. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can also check out the podcast, thenewscasters.com, thenewscasters.com. So quite a few of you in the audience are left-handed, and I'm left-handed too. So just I found an article, and I thought this was pretty interesting. It says 20 ways being left-handed impacts your health. Who would have thought being left-handed could actually be healthy for you? So let's just figure this out. Okay, so we have quite a few famous left-handed folks, and one of those, several presidents of the United States were left-handed as well. So with just 10%, there's only 10% of us, of the population being left-handed, it's easy for everyone else to forget we're living in a right-handed world. Absolutely. But aside from making it tough to cut a straight line with a pair of scissors designed for righties, oh, that's tough. Being a southpaw can also have some subtle effects on our physical and mental health. So the brains and bodies of lefties may operate differently than those of right-handed people, and in mixed-handed people who may have a different dominant hand for different tasks. So left-handed seems to be determined very early in fetal development. Didn't know that. Okay, so handiness seems to be determined very early on. And let's see, so here's a look at some of the most common facts about being left-handed and what right-handed may mean for your health. First of all, they say it's not just genetics. Okay, so scientists aren't exactly sure why some people are left-handed, but they know that genes are responsible for about 25% of the time, says Yale. Left-handedness does tend to run in families, he says, but noticeably less than other inherited traits like height or intelligence. In fact, identical twins who share the same genes can sometimes have different dominant hands. There are plenty of theories on what else might determine which hand you write with, but many experts do believe that it's kind of random. And this is, again, Yeo, who is the author of this article right here. Okay, it's linked to stress in pregnancy. In one British study, the fetuses of super-stressed pregnant women were more likely to touch their faces more than the left hands on the right. This could be the first signs of left-handed child, says researchers. Other evidence supports that theory. So, in 2008, Swedish study of moms and their 5-year-old children, women who were depressed or stressed during their pregnancies were more likely to have mixed or left-handed kids. In other studies, babies with low birth rate or born to older mothers were more likely to be lefties as well. I was a huge baby, so I was like 8 pounds, 11 ounces, so it had nothing to do with that. So let's go figure it out another way. Okay, it's more common in twins. Well, it was just me out there. So identical twins are sometimes mirror images of each other. One twin has a mole on her right cheek, while the other has a mole in the same spot, but it's on the left cheek, for instance. It was once believed that twins' genetic makeup should be mirrored as well. Therefore, one twin should be left-handed and the other should be right-handed. It was once thought that all left-handed people started out as twins and that their righty siblings died in the womb. Neither of this is true, of course, but left-handedness is about twice as common in twins when the general population. Now, a 1996 Belgium study found that 21% of twins, both fraternal and identical, are left-handed. Now, this is another thought. It doesn't make you right-brained. We've always heard that. Us lefties would say, we're the only ones with our brains in the right place. Well, listen to this. Most right-handed people use the left hemisphere of their brain to process language, but that doesn't mean most lefties are right-brained. It's just a common myth there. Director and Effectiveness Neuroscience Laboratory at the University of Washington, Wellington in New Zealand says about 98% of right-handers are left-brained, she says. But so are about 70% of left-handers. Only about 30% are right-brained or bilateral brained, in which both halves are equally capable. Most left-handers seem to have similar language processing to right-handers. So Grimshaw says, this is one of the articles, authors of this article says, for other one-side brain functions, such as attention, emotion, music, and face perception, she says there are less data. But for the most part, left-handers do not differ, obviously, from left-handers. They certainly don't have reversed brains. So we've been taught that forever. Not necessarily. It may cause you to think differently. I believe this one. Society tends to associate the left side of something with the bad. In other words, 2 left feet. And the right side with the good, like my right-hand man. But if you're left-handed, you may not think the same way as righties. I totally agree with that. According to the 2009 Stanford University study, participants were shown 2 columns of abstract illusions and were asked which seemed more intelligent, which seemed more happy, honest, or attractive. Righties were more likely to choose the illustrations from the right column, where lefties were more likely to choose drawings from the left column. For left-handed people, implicitly, they think good stuff is on the left and bad stuff is on the right, even though consciously everything in language and culture is telling them the exact opposite. Now, the study's lead author said in a press release he believes this may even influence the way we vote on ballots. It doesn't influence me. I do research. Or which candidates we prefer when watching presidential debates. Don't let that affect you. Okay, now this is another one. Okay, it can affect school performance. Now, in 2009, a study of children 11 and younger, Australian researchers found that left-handed kids performed worse than right-handed several measures, including vocabulary, reading, writing, social development, and gross and fine motor skills. Now, mixed-hand kids performed even worse than the lefties. Mixed-hand performed, and their left-handed children more likely to use the 2 halves of the brain in unusual ways, which may put them at risk for mild learning disabilities. At the same time, however, some mixed-handed kids have an unrelated learning disability that makes them struggle to decide which hand to write with. I can see that. Either way, most kids catch up with their classmates as they get older, so don't worry about that, parents, if you have a lefty. So he says being left-handed or mixed-handed isn't a surefire predictor of how well kids perform as they grow up. I'll have to tell you one thing I had, an issue that I had in school. Okay, so your notebooks, you see how they're with the little spiral thingy right here. Oh man, that was kind of tough because when you were writing, a couple things would happen. So you're writing, first of all, your hand is going to rest on that wire spiral right there. So I always had these little marks on my arm when I was in school, and I still do if I have to write that way. Another thing is you're messy in your handwriting, and let me tell you why. Okay, so I'm writing something. If I write, now my hand, I hold it this way when I'm writing, so that's a little different from most lefties. Most lefties are doing this. Now, as they are writing, that arm is going across the page like that, okay, as they're writing. So guess what that does? It not only puts messiness right there on the page, you're also going to have a lot of ink on your arm. So that's a setback right there. So that's something I had to kind of get over it. Mainly the little wire spiral right here on the notebook. Okay. It's linked to a risk of mental health problems, they say. So people who are left-handed are at greater risk of psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, according to the 2013 Yale University study. Now, when researchers polled patients at a mental health clinic, 40% of those with schizophrenia said they wrote with their left hand. That's considerably higher than the 10% of lefties found in the general population. Take that as you will. Studies have also found links between non-right-handedness and dyslexia. I've got dyslexia. Okay, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and some mood disorders. Okay, it does offer an advantage in sports. So let's talk about that and then we'll go into a break. Okay, there's one thing that most handedness experts can agree on. Lefties have the upper hand, pun intended, when it comes to one-on-one sports like tennis, boxing, pitching a baseball. And in this book, The Puzzle of Left-Handedness, they talk about athletes left and right-handed usually train against right-handed opponents. So, a little science here about this. When finally facing a southpaw, lefties can easily adjust, but righties are at a double disadvantage. They're forced to engage in this battle for which they're poorly prepared. Like us, we're used to having to kind of jump around, you know what, and find something that works. And so they are poorly prepared against an opponent who's a dab hand at dealing with this type of handwriting or whatever you do. And that's what he goes on ahead and writes. We're going to have to go into a commercial break. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. We're talking about being left-handed. There are terrible setbacks, but there are great advantages to also being left-handed. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. You guys hang in there. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community
Okay,
College.
we're back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And you can also find us on a podcast, thenewscasters.com. We appreciate you watching any way you can. We're also on all the social media sites, including Facebook, YouTube, all of them, X, all of those out there. So if you are looking for a way to find this show or other awesome shows right there on the newscasters.com, you can do that. I also wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce in Gadsden, Alabama. They have our show up there every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. So we definitely appreciate that as well. Let's talk about left-handers. Okay, so before we went into a commercial break, we were talking about how you get an advantage in sports. Part of it's because we kind of have learned at an early age how to adjust. Now, when I was 14, we moved to North Alabama. I grew up in Oxford. And so we moved into this house, which was kind of awesome. Whoever built that house built it for a left-handed person. So this is one house I lived in my entire life where the light switches actually were convenient for me. So it was like, wow, I finally have something that works for me. So, but everybody else in the house had difficulty. But anyway, that was one time it actually worked to my advantage. Okay, so talking about sports, it may make for better fighters. I don't know about that. I'm not so much of a fighter, but in a 2005 French study, researchers found that southpaws made up just about 3% of the population in most peaceful primitive societies, but 27% in the most warlike ones. Why? It goes back to the idea that lefties have a physical advantage over righties. In violent societies, researchers theorize that left-handers benefit from their unexpected left hook. Yeah, we're kind of used to having to adjust to society, because everything is made for right-handed people. It doesn't make you more creative. I don't know, I'll fight about that one. I think I'm more creative. Left-handed people are often credited for being the most creative than righties, but that's a hard thing to measure. That rumor came from a 1995 study that found left-handed men tended to engage in more divergent thinking than right-handed men, meaning they explore more options to solve problems than the ones readily available. For women, however, handiness made no difference. There's a grain of truth to the creativity idea when you look at actual creative achievements in one's lifetime. The evidence is not strong for association with left-handedness, says the author of this article. Okay, it doesn't mean you're artsy. So, southpaws often have a reputation for being introverted and artsy. It's an interesting contrast to views from a few decades ago or before that stereotyped left-handers as somewhat mentally or morally inferior. However, the stereotype doesn't reflect reality. So in a 2013 study, Grimshaw and her colleagues found no difference between left-handed and right-handed people on any of the 5 personality measures they tested. They did, however, find that mixed-handers were more introverted. I think that's probably because I know when I was small, Mother would I would have a crayon with my left hand, and she would take it out and put it in my right hand. I would put it back in my left hand again, then she would take it out and put it in my right hand. That could be all that's about. I think a lot of parents were that way. Okay, so let's go on ahead and read a little bit more. This is like really, really good stuff. Stuff I've always been interested in, like what in the world? Why is it this way? Why is it that way? So we talked about the fighters. We talked about being artsy. It's linked to a higher risk of breast cancer. Left-handedness seems to be associated with some physical issues. So in a 2007 study, let's see, where's that at? It just kind of went away. Okay. In a 2007 study published by the British Journal of Cancer, researchers found that left-handers had a higher risk of breast cancer than right-handers, especially for cancer that occurred after menopause. While the two seem completely unrelated, the author says both could be the result of something affecting a fetus in early development. We know that other physical vulnerabilities like low birth weight and prenatal head circumference can predict later health issues, he says. How you develop in the uterus may put you in for certain strengths and weaknesses for your entire life, but more studies need to be done about that. Okay, it doesn't affect your general health. Okay, so it seems like it just contradicted what they just said. Okay, here we go. Scientists have long suspected that being left-handed was somewhat related to immune function, and it may be a risk factor for autoimmune disorder. Now, research has not been able to back up most of these claims, but that theory has been largely debunked. But one autoimmune condition, handedness, does seem to be associated, which is inflammatory bowel disease. And a 2001 British study found that lefties are twice as likely to suffer from bowel problems such as Crohn's disease and also ulcer type colitis than the righties. It is linked to some sleep problems, not with me. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out. But southpaws may be more prone to periodic limb movement disorders, that could be PLMD, which causes patients to voluntarily kick and jerk their arms and legs while sleeping. In a 2011 University of Toledo survey of 100 sleep clinic patients, researchers found that 69% of right-handers experienced limb movements on both sides of their body while sleeping. As for the left-handed patients, 94% of them had these movements. Their findings indicate that left-handed people have significantly higher chances of having bilateral limb movements, indicating the potential for PLMD. That states a press release from the 2011 conference where the study was presented. It doesn't impact longevity. It was once thought that left-handed people were doomed to die early, a lot earlier than their normal peers, thanks to a 1991 study from the University of British Columbia. The study also found that car accidents were often to blame, so lefties took that on reputation as being bad drivers, however. But several studies have debunked those claims, and scientists now generally accept that being a righty or a lefty has zero effect on the lifespan. It may up the risk of PTSD. So a 2007 British study found that left-handers were more likely to display symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder after watching clips from a scary movie. Now that could be. I don't like watching slasher movies. Other studies have found that non-right-handers experience some negative emotions. Both findings could be due to the fact that non-righties are more likely to have unusual brain lateralization, which could affect the way their brains process fear and anger. It doesn't make you a bigger drinker. You don't need to drink anyway, left or right-handed. Most small studies have suggested that lefties drink more than righties, but scientists aren't sure why. They guess the unusual way lefties use the two sides of their brain makes them more prone to alcoholism, or that lefties just drank more to deal with the stress of being a minority in the right-handed world. I never really thought of myself as a minority. So in a 2011 study published in the British Journal of Psychological Health, examined the issue on a large scale. Using self-reported data of more than 27,000 people, they found that left-handers did tend to drink more, but mainly because they were less likely to drink rarely, less than once a month, or not at all. In other words, lefties weren't more likely to binge drink or become alcoholics. There's no reason to believe it is more associated with excessive alcohol consumption or risky drinking, the authors wrote. It could mean you make less money. Whether the cognitive, mental, or physical differences lefties have from righties actually make a real-world difference in today's lives is still up for debate, but a 2014 Harvard study suggests that they might. Researchers Joshua Goodman found that left-handed people's salaries were on average 9 to 19% lower than their right-handed peers. The gap between lefties and righties was $2,500 for men and $3,400 for women. He also found that left-handers were more likely not to attend or drop out of college and to work less demanding jobs like manual labor. When people ask me for the takeaway message, the author says, I tell them that it makes me pay a little extra attention to my kids as they develop their right-handedness. Goodman said in a press release, if they turn out to be left-handed, I don't worry, but I'll keep an eye out for some of those other things. Okay, overall, handedness doesn't really matter. I don't think it does either. Of all the interesting facts about handedness, probably the most important one, says Yeo, is it really just doesn't matter at all. The differences between righties and lefties are rather subtle, and most greater scientific interest may be any kind of practical use, he says. Grimshaw agrees, however, noting that mixed-handers seem to differ from strong-handers, which is more left or right-handers differ from each other. However, we really don't know much about the brain of mixed-handers because we've been so focused on the left-handers, she says. Hopefully, we'll have a better understanding of them soon. One thing for sure, though, we shouldn't assume much about people's personalities or health just because of the hand they write with. And we certainly shouldn't worry about lefties' chances of success. After all, as of 2015, 5 of our last U.S. presidents have either been left or mixed-handed. That's something to think about. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You can find us on the radio at iecradio.media. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you so much for watching. You're a big part of my life, and I look forward to every day I can spend with you. Check out the podcast at newscasters.com. Another thing you can do is send an email. If you have any suggestions for the show, send an email to donna@donnasedge.com. If you'd like me to do a little research, I'll be happy to do that for you as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. It's definitely appreciated.